Welcome to Bosco Campus Vision. You're watching the campus television channel of Don Bosco College, Kottayam. This lecture is on the prescribed syllabus of 5th semester BA English Literature and Language. Paper is Literary Criticism. In this lecture, we are going to study about literary criticism in the Renaissance. The term Renaissance is of Italian origin, meaning rebirth or reawakening. It stands for the historical rebirth of the 14th, 15th and 16th centuries. The movement initially started in Italy and later spread to France, Germany, England and other European countries. There are two views regarding the Renaissance movement. One view is that the Europeans believed they have discovered the greatness and superiority of the ancient Greek and Roman culture after the Dark Middle Age. The other view is that the Renaissance was not an abrupt movement but had its roots established even during the medieval times, and the movement was one of the gradual progression. There was a revival in the study of arts and literature, sparked by an interest in Greek and Roman literature of the classical age. The classics were reinterpreted by Italian men of letters. The widening of the horizon of knowledge was accelerated by printing technology. The focus of interest in the study shifted from the abstract notions such as God and nature to man. The inherent divinity in the human being, as well as the dignity associated with him, became the subject of study. Literary criticism during Renaissance was tasked with justifying imaginative literature. The basic belief was that the literature was the byproduct of theology or philosophy. Literature was not evaluated through criteria. The yardstick for judging poetry was neither literary nor critical. During the Renaissance, a large body of literature of the past was recovered, and the real task was to establish justifiable considerations by which these works could be justly estimated. One other task was to seek a just and proper answer to Plato's refutation and objections raised in his Dialogues and the Republic. Many Renaissance scholars successfully answered these charges by blaming the artist and not the art. Those who abuse art and betray the sacred office of art should be banished from all commonwealth. Renaissance criticism took upon itself the prime duty of uniting and reconciling the best elements in Aristotle and Horace, establishing literary criticism as an independent field of study. Prominent Renaissance critics are Petrarch, Scaliger, Minturno, Boccaccio, and the Italian Roberto and Castelvetro. The greatest and most important work of this age is Sidney's Apology for Poetry. Elizabethan criticism exhibits two traits. First, there is in existence a complete body of critical works of the Renaissance. Secondly, it shares several characteristics with the works of other European countries associated with Renaissance. English Renaissance is not an isolated phenomenon. It exhibits a clear line of progression falling into the following demarcations. There are mostly rhetorical studies of literature in the first stage of evolution. Thomas Wilson's Art of Rhetoric, 1553, is probably the first work of criticism in English language. Roger Uscombe's Schoolmaster, 1568, and Richard Tottle's Miscellany, 1559, are two other important works. The English came to learn that form and style were important considerations in literary appreciation. It was during this period that English poetry was Italianized to a great extent. The second phase was a period when attention was paid to the metrics and metrical patterns in poetical composition. Art of English Poesy, 1589, by Richard Puttenham, and Discourse of English Poetry, 1586, by Mary Webb, are the earliest works on classification of meter and introduction of classical meters into the English language. The third stage is the stage of philosophical criticism. Among the most prominent works of apologetic criticism of this period, Sir Philip Sidney's An Apology for Poetry, 1583, Thomas Campion's Art of English Poesy, 1602, and Samuel Daniel's Defense of Rhyme, 1605. The fourth stage belonged to the first half of the 17th century. Ben Jonson was an important figure during this period. He was a classicist. If Sidney taught poetry, then Jonson taught it. There is an unmistakable influence of Italian criticism here. This stage opens up a new dimension in English literary criticism when the French came on the scene. A patriotic spirit inspired this period. Some of its characteristic features were a devotion to the national cause, commitment to classicism in a pure form, and the faith that art should imitate nature. John Dryden, the poet laureate, was the presiding genius of this period. With its emphasis on humanism based on the idea that people are rational beings and its faith in the dignity and worth of the individual, the Renaissance was a period of intellectual ferment that prepared the ground for later thinkers who arrived on the literary scene during the period of Enlightenment. In this lecture, we studied literary criticism in the Renaissance. Do the given exercise and submit on time. Thank you.